Well, that's when Jonas comes involved, right? So that's
Jonas said that was the highest he's ever seen.
yeah, that's how you and I met. So
Yeah.
it's all coming full circle. So let's kind of like flash forward or look into the future a little bit. As I mentioned, it's February 2024. You're obviously looking at a lot of different asset classes in commercial real estate. You're obviously looking at other investing opportunities as well outside of just real estate. But, you know, what are you communicating to your investors as far as like your thoughts for 24? Do you have an asset class that is maybe your favorite that you're really kind of like actively looking at opportunities in, even more so than just kind of keeping an eye on things? But I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts or outlook for 24.
Yeah, my starting point in all of my investing is I don't know the future. That kind of differentiates me from a
Fair.
lot of people. I don't know when rates are going to go down. I know what my gut tells me, but you know, I still remember when rates started going up and people thought they were going to come down a few months later, and people were like, "Oh, look, here's the yield curve, and you can see like by like January 2024 rates are going to be here." And I'm like, the yield curve doesn't mean anything. Like that's just what the markets are predicting, but we don't know
Yeah.
what's going to be. And sure enough, those yield curves are now like this.
Yeah.
So it's a very tricky market right now. I don't profess to have any edge in terms of knowing, what's right, what's wrong. I have the markets that I operate in right now. I think my guess is my first real estate deal going forward will probably be something in the Vermont area. We've been
Hmm.
buying up properties there with one. We have a very close partner up in that area. We bought our first portfolio there back in mid 2022.
What kind of asset class? A multifamily or?
Small multifamily. Vermont's a very interesting, unique market, kind of separate from everything else. There's nothing big there. I think the biggest property I've seen is 15 units.
Oh,
You
wow.
can't really
Interesting.
build, you can't really build big over there. And what that does is that institutional investors have no interest there. So the market
Yeah.
kind of exists in its own little bubble.
Huh.
It's really cool, Vermont. I was in I was on my trips in the U.S. Was it Atlanta? I was in Atlanta, Georgia one day. The next day I was in Vermont, and I remember going to a supermarket in Vermont, and the same thing that in Georgia in Atlanta cost like $2, in Vermont was like 89 cents. You can get a cup
Interesting.
of coffee there for like a dollar or something, $1.50. It was like it was really interesting. The market, the whole place there was like the land that time forgot. It was crazy.
Interesting. I don't
And
think I've ever
so the
been to
real
Vermont, even though I grew up in the
Oh,
Northeast.
it's beautiful. I mean, the reason why it's beautiful is the reason why real estate's terrible there is because basically anybody can stop you from building for any stupid reason.
Got
But
it.
what what that does is it creates when you have more of those arbitrage opportunities where again it hasn't been a lot of there aren't a ton of sophisticated operators in the area. Our partner's been active there for 10 years.
Hmm.
Again, it's a little more work. It's more work. The deals are going to be smaller, but there is opportunity and they cash flow nicely once you get them up and running, which we've been able to do. Labor is a challenge. Labor is a challenge everywhere,
Yeah.
but our portfolios there, we've been able to stabilize them usually in a year or less. And once they're stabilized, they cash flow amazingly.
Got
So
it.
we haven't had any exits yet. We were looking at some exits, but the market turned against us, and we're not able to exit. But we're cash flowing just fine. We just had a call a couple days ago, and I told him like he's like thinking, do we exit? Do we refi? I said, look, I don't need to exit. I'm perfectly happy sitting here cash flowing at 15% a year. Like I have no need
Yeah.
to exit. I think, and my investors will be very happy just collecting those checks every quarter. Like so he's like, okay, we'll do that. That was so we have right now. I mean, the fees are a little high. We have to charge higher fees over there just because if we charge a standard, the deals are so small sometimes. We're buying
Oh, yeah.
portfolios of like we bought one building, 15 units. The whole thing was like $1 million, maybe less. We
Yeah.
raised like $600,000. It was very small. So, but they're intensive to run because there's serious value. There's serious renovation value add. And when I say serious, it's not gut renovations. Usually, it's an $8,000 to $10,000 job per unit,
Yeah.
but it's still there's a lot of management on the ground, and you lose the economy of scales, but there's a lot of value there. So
Well, and
that's a
also if you
market
start to
that
get a few of them in a certain area, then you can accomplish the economies of scale, right? You can operate it as a
yeah,
portfolio.
we do that. We're doing that. We buy in areas, but even then, you buy an apartment building in South Carolina or Houston, you're buying a couple hundred units.
Yeah.
Here, we bought a portfolio back in 2022. We raised $1.3 million. The total value is about $4 million. It was like 35 units spread across
Mm.
8 different properties, each one financed separately.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It's
there are
like
obviously
it's
challenges to all
messy.
that. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
messy. It's really messy. Look, there's a reason why the institutionalized markets are easy to operate in. The challenge is you're competing with bigger money
Yeah.
and there's less inefficiency. The inefficiency creates opportunity, but you got to deal with the inefficiency. It's the same thing in the
Yeah.
RV space. The inefficiency creates opportunity, but you got to deal with the inefficiency.
Makes sense.
So, but that's my guess is that'll be the first market I go back into. Right now, I'm very focused on my activities in the options markets. That's been something which has proven itself for several years now, and I'm in the middle of using this opportunity, kind of the lull in the real estate side, to enhance my education there, learn new things, and enhance the hedging in the portfolio so that the portfolio is a lot more robust. So I'm just
Got
taking
it.
the opportunity to,